being able to see my abs and just being happy with how I look makes me feel more confident. And I feel like I'm a better dad. I feel like I'm a better business person. I feel like I'm a better human being when I'm more confident.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching our videos. If you'd like to support us some more, you can explore our homemade natural skincare products at purelytallow.com. Thank you so much for supporting my small business. Hey guys, welcome back to the Carnivore Revolution. I'm Serena, I'm your host, and today my special guest is Colt Milton. Colt is a personal trainer, a bodybuilder. He is the host of the YouTube channel called Skull Bells and also a co-host of the Carnivore Coaches Corner. So we're going to get into all kinds of information about nutrition, exercise, and lifting weights today.
Good stuff. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me. I'm
Yeah,
excited to be
thank
here.
Yeah, I'm so
It's
glad
exciting
that
to
you could
talk
do
on
this.
this channel and not just listen to it. I've been loving all
Thank
your episodes. Your last one on binge eating, that was kind of a heavy one. That really hit home. So I was listening to that one this morning.
Yeah.
But all of your guests on your channel have just been phenomenal. I think my favorite one lately has been Kevin Stock. I learned a lot from that one.
Yeah, yeah, Kevin Stock is pretty awesome, and it took several months to get that one lined up, and I was really glad when we were able to finally do it. I think he has a lot of good information.
Yeah, yeah, particularly the nose breathing and the mouth breathing. That's kind of been like our thing, like with my family, with our clients and everybody. It's in through the nose, out through the mouth, and
Mhm.
it changes how you feel, like the entire day. Just that one small little thing.
Yeah, and so imagine how much of a big impact nutrition can have if that makes such a big difference too. So let's tackle that.
Yeah,
Let's start with your story, how you got started on the carnivore diet, what made you realize this was better, and what did it help you with?
for sure. Yeah, okay. Well, I started bodybuilding in 2017 and I was tracking all my calories. I was doing lots of cardio. I was doing all the stuff that everybody else I had ever seen compete do. My wife and I both were eating the same way that we had been up through high school, in the same way that everybody eats, standard American diet. And it kind of caught up with us by the time that we were about 26 and 27. It was great while we were playing hockey and all that stuff. And when we were young, we were kind of get away without training a bad diet. We didn't know that it was a bad diet at the time. And then we're getting into our 20s and we're like, well, what the heck? So we decided to start taking working out a bit more seriously and start taking our diet more seriously. And we didn't know where to start really. And so I went to bodybuilding.com. And at least it got us started in the right direction, right? Like at least we were intentional about how we were eating and at least we were doing something. And so it's still a step in the right direction. And I just wanted to see my abs for the first time in my life, never was able to, and so at least I was able to accomplish that. I didn't really get into a point where I had an unhealthy relationship with food until after I was doing this for about 3 or 4 months, because it takes under eating and over exercise. That's one way to lose weight, okay?
Mhm.
That's not rocket science, we all know that. But especially if you're a natural athlete and if you're not using any performance enhancing drugs, then that's going to catch up with you. And that's going to be very, very hard on your endocrine system long term.
Mhm.
So I found that out very, very quickly. I ended up with a full blown eating disorder that I never got professionally diagnosed, but you definitely could call it bulimia. And that was over the course of about the first 8 shows that I did. I hired a coach for the second 4 shows, and he cleaned up my diet, brought me a bit more towards like a paleo diet. And then from there, I started feeling better. And so I started feeling better once I gravitated more towards keto. He had me doing carb cycling on a paleo diet with lots of sweet potatoes, was kind of my primary carb source at the time. That and white rice because it's low in lectin and it's low in oxalate. And so it kind of helps keep the inflammation low on contest prep. So whenever I do implement carbs or recommend carbs, that's usually where we go for that reason. But I just realized how much better I felt on keto, and then I was like, well, I've heard so much about the carnivore diet. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm almost there. So why don't I just give it a shot? I heard about it on Joe Rogan's podcast, which I think is kind of the first place everybody hears about it. So I bought Sean Baker's book and then just bought another book and another book and another book and just started binge listening to podcasts. And I was just like, wow, you know what? I think there's something to this. And so about a year later, I was like, I just feel like this is how we're supposed to eat. I just
Yeah.
feel like this feels a lot more natural. And so then I started taking my eating a lot more intuitively and started doing a lot less tracking, stopped tracking calories. That was probably the
Mhm.
biggest shift that I made overall as a coach, over the last several years. Stopped doing that a couple of years later because I realized that it just takes your eyes away from your endocrine system and away from your hormones and away from what's really truly happening in your body. Calories are great if you're measuring heat in a bomb calorimeter, but I don't really have a lot of use for that in my day-to-day practice. So we track macros. I track macros for bodybuilding competitors, but unless you have a specific body composition goal, I mean, that's not even really 100% necessary. Most people can see their abs, and have, for guys, like have a wider chest than your waist. I just think that's a very reasonable aesthetic goal for any guy to be able to have, and you can do that without even going to the gym and just nailing your diet. So after that transition, taking a couple years off of competing and spending some time just kind of exploring the carnivore diet, I got excited about competing again, and I didn't notice any loss in muscle mass from not having as many carbs in my diet. Gave me some time to heal my relationship with food. Did a lot of spiritual work in that time. I did 4 more shows. Uh, I was by far the leanest athlete on the stage, and I came in with more muscle. I'm 2.5 weeks out from stepping on stage again. This will be my 14th time doing it. Guest posing. I'm going to be co-hosting one of the largest shows in the Pacific Northwest called the Open Natural. I'm coaching 3 athletes that are all on the carnivore diet that are doing that same show. So we're all a little bit nervous because we're 2.5 weeks out. It's we're almost there, but we're all functioning, all cognitive. Bodybuilding isn't necessarily the healthiest sport in the world, but the carnivore diet is, in my experience, a much healthier way to go about doing it if you're a natural athlete
Mhm.
that chooses to abstain from performance enhancing drugs.
Yeah. So why is it, do you think, and I've read this before, tell me if I'm wrong, that eating disorders are pretty common among bodybuilders? Is that right?
Yeah,
So why
yeah, man.
that is?
It's an aesthetic goal that we have. We're kind of hardwired. If you want to call it mentally ill, okay, that's fair. Being able to see my abs and just being happy with how I look makes me feel more confident, and I feel like I'm a better dad. I feel like I'm a better business person. I feel like I'm a better human being when I'm more confident. For some people, that's like lifting. That's why they work out. They like how they feel after they get a new PR on bench or deadlift or squat. I certainly feel better doing that kind of stuff, but I got too many injuries doing it. So I'm the guy in the gym that's always training and doing all the old man workouts. Being able to see that kind of muscle definition and get down to, I don't know, probably like around 5 or 6% body fat right now, but getting to that low level of body fat is not healthy no matter how you do it. And your diet is the single most important factor in getting that lean. If you do your diet perfectly, um, in a lot of cases, I don't know about every case, but I've seen it happen several times to where you don't even have to do a step of cardio. But most people are out training a bad diet if their
Mhm.
carbohydrates are too high and if their fats are too low. And here again, we get into performance enhancing drugs and natural bodybuilding, and a lot of people just don't realize that natural bodybuilding is a real thing. With performance enhancing drugs, you can get away with more carbs. You can get away with having a worse diet because you don't really see it in your physique. Your physique looks better no matter
So
what.
you think that it is the perfectionism, it's the trying to make everything perfect, and the typical bodybuilding diet isn't really sustainable? Is that why people end up with eating disorders? Is it because they're striving for that perfection, but that perfection is almost unsustainable? You because you want the other things, you have cravings, you still want
Yep.
to eat the other things, so you do, and then you restrict, or you make yourself sick, or I mean, do you think that that's the reason that people end up with eating disorders as bodybuilders?
Definitely. It is not, yeah, we get kind of made fun of as carnivores for our diet not being sustainable, which I think is complete bullshit because
Thing.
it's 100% sustainable. I don't want to go back to how I used to feel. I don't want to go back to the chronic body aches and needing 8 hours of sleep a night. I don't have time for 8 hours of sleep a night. I have time for 5 hours of sleep maybe. And I don't even have time for 5 hours of sleep, but I get my damn 5 hours of sleep. And I can only do it if I'm keto. I can't do it if I'm not keto. If I have carbs in my diet, I need 7, 8 hours of sleep. And all my clients are the exact same way.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting to me that that you think that's the reason that people end up with eating disorders, because most, most bodybuilders stay in that cycle of their protein and their macros and trying to keep all of those things where they are. And so I just wonder, is that whole cycle, maybe not that the bodybuilding itself is unhealthy, but is there something about that cycle of bulking and, and then leaning out and then bulking and then leaning out? Do you think there's something about that that kind of goes along?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, lions don't go through bulking phases where they implement carbs and crap and and get on testosterone cypionate and like they don't do that they don't do that kind of stuff. Natural bodybuilding, I just figure we're designed like lions in terms of how we digest food. And so the more that I kind of follow that eating pattern, the more that I find what I want aesthetically just kind of falls into place. I'm never really known as the biggest guy in my gym, but I'm known as the guy that's lean all the time and always
Mhm.
has good hard muscle definition. And that's just kind of what I want. I don't want to be big and puffy on the off season. I don't want to be skin and bones when I'm stepping on stage. I want to have a sustainable, good
Mhm.
physique year round, and that's just kind of how I've been the last 5 years, ever since I got on the carnivore diet.
That's awesome. And so, as far as building muscle on the carnivore diet, we know from experience that we don't need the carbohydrates that so many people think that we need. Why is that
Right.
we actually don't need the carbohydrates to build muscle like people think we do?
We only need four things to build muscle. Science will back up every single one of these things. So you need sleep. You need more sleep if you're not in ketosis, by the way. You need water, you need protein, and you need a stimulus. It's a stimulus. So if you can check all those boxes, great. If carbohydrates helps you check those boxes better, great. I don't really think that it does. I don't really see how you can argue that it does unless it just gives you a much better workout. Okay. I think that if you are fat adapted though, what you'll experience and what you'll find, we were just talking about this on our show with Ali from the UK. Um, he and I have both found that once you're fat adapted, your workouts you can expect are 90 to 95% of the intensity of if you would have been having carbs before every single workout. But the problem is when I have carbs in my workout, it's unpredictable. I'll have a
Mhm.
sugar crash. My energy only goes so long, and my focus, just my mental clarity, isn't really there like it is when I'm in ketosis and when I'm really fat adapted. So personally, I'm consuming no carbohydrates at all right now. I am going to refeed with about as much white rice as I can possibly eat, actually, and that's maybe a conversation for another day, or unless you want to talk about it in this channel. It's not. I don't know if it's really applicable to your listeners, but yeah, I'm probably gonna gain about 7 or 8 pounds on peak week if I do it properly. So
Okay. So, and you would do that for what purpose?
to get really big and really hard for like 2 days.
Okay. Yeah. But then you go right back, right? I mean,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This is a once a year thing. I'm actually kind of nervous about it because I haven't had rice in years. So yeah, I don't know what to expect as far as how I feel, but I've done it enough times before to where I know how I'll look, and I just want to really fill out. I don't recommend that all bodybuilding competitors do it. Actually, yeah. No, sorry. There's me and one other athlete that are going to fill out on white rice, and then no, three of us. One of them's not. One of them is a bikini competitor. I don't want her. I don't want her to do it. Her refeed is just going to be 40% more of everything that she is eating
Okay.
before she
Mhm.
steps on stage. My women's bodybuilder Danielle, she's a WNBF pro. She's probably going to be the most muscular athlete on the stage. She has a history of Crohn's disease though,
Mhm.
but she's always done and IBS related symptoms, but she's
Okay.
always done okay with white rice. So we feel like that'll be a safe move for her. And then Leo, yeah, this guy grew up eating fried chicken and white rice all the time, so he'll do just fine with the white rice refeed.
So, so this is an experiment for you. It's not something that you've done since you've been a carnivore bodybuilder, the adding the white rice
Yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah. So my coach Richard from the UK, he's actually doing my diet and everybody else's diet that's doing
Okay.
this exact approach because this is new to me. Every single peak week for me in the past has been with base. Let's see, my first 8 shows were all high carb refeeds. My last 4 shows was um, a high fat refeed. I did a high protein refeed. I did a combination of both, and then I did a sweet potato refeed. I just
Okay.
wanted to do one of each and see what
Okay.
happened. By far, I got the biggest when I did my a refeed with carbs, and that resulted in my physique being much bigger, but at the expense of the quality of it. I don't think I looked as good, but I looked
Mhm.
bigger and I
Mhm.
placed better because of it. And I never lose to
Interesting.
people because they're leaner. I always lose to them because they're bigger. And so that's like the
Right.
only time that I ever do include carbohydrates is for that purpose. So this time around, this is a couple years later now. The only difference really that we're doing with the way that Richard is doing is doing our peak weeks is we're using white rice instead of sweet potatoes, and we're filling out on exogenous ketones after that. That's one thing I've never done before. I never saw the point, but the reason that we do that is because it's used as a primary fuel source, even over glucose. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I didn't know that until like,
Really?
yeah, until like 3 weeks ago. So if your body has fat and it has sugar, it's going to
Mhm.
prefer sugar, right?
Right.
But if it has fat, sugar, and exogenous ketones, it prefers exogenous ketones over the sugar. Yeah. Okay. So sorry. So since we're on this topic, my problem peaking out on show day has always been that I'm full of glycogen in the morning, so I look like a pro bodybuilder in the morning, but I can't
Mhm.
hold it because then my glycogen stores are tapped out. Everybody's different genetically. You got to do this over
Mhm.
and over so you figure out how your body works.
Yeah.
But I'm flat as a pancake in the evening, and if I look at carbohydrates, I spill over because my glycogen stores are already tapped out, right?
Mhm.
So I'm kind of screwed. I look great if competition's in the morning, but I look like crap if competition's in the evening, right? So our workaround for that is the exogenous ketones. I just use those for my energy, so my glycogen stores are full the entire
Interesting.
day, and then that becomes my energy. So I didn't start using exogenous ketones until a couple weeks ago. That's been great for my workouts. So yeah, basically peak week just in a nutshell this time for me and for Danielle and for Leo is deplete fats. Do that for a couple days. That sucks. It just sucks. Like you just feel like shit for 3 days. Like don't
Yeah.
plan on doing anything important for those 3 days. Yeah, this is about 10 days out from the show. Okay, and then first couple days of the week we load up on fats. So you gain a couple pounds from doing that. Okay, and then now your muscle bellies. So now your muscle bellies are filling out with fat. Okay, you haven't. None of us have had carbs in months. So then our body just soaks up all those carbs, right? We eat as much white rice as we possibly can, and then we all spill over. So we're going to go from the
Mhm.
best shape of our life to the worst shape of our life about overnight. That really messes with your head. You got to get over that. You got to know that going in. So it all
Mhm.
spills over, and like you can't see your abs, you can't see no muscle definition. That's called spillover. That's what you don't want to happen on show day. It's okay if it happens early in the week because then you can clean up from it. So Thursday morning, we're all gonna be feeling big and like full and puffy and like just gross and nasty, right? And so then we all drastically decrease our carb intake, kind of even everything out, and our training becomes a lot less at that point. So we just stay topped off glycogen wise for the next couple days, and then on show days when we start doing the exogenous ketones. So basically you gain 2 to 3 pounds every single time you do that, right? When Richard did that, he gained 17 pounds. That's what he
Wow.
said. I didn't believe it until he explained it that way, and now I see how it's possible. So usually on a peak week I'll gain about 6 or 7 pounds. So that's why
Mhm.
I'm thinking I'm probably going to gain about 9 or 10 pounds. Stage weight probably about a buck 84. No, sorry, peak week weight probably about a buck 84 for me, and then I'm probably going to be about 193, 194 on stage, and I'm kind of expecting the same trend with everybody. We'll see.
Okay. That's a very interesting approach because most of the bodybuilders that
Mhm.
I talk to don't add in the carbohydrates before the show. They really feel like we don't need the carbohydrates at all. So I'm
Yeah.
curious to see how that works for you. I'm very interested to hear how that
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. And I just want to caveat one more thing too. It's not healthy. I'm not saying that anybody should do it. Like, unless you have an aesthetic reason that's like really, really important and to where you're doing it for a specific purpose. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, here again, that's why we're doing it. We're probably never gonna. Our after party is gonna be at a Brazilian steakhouse, so we're just gonna
Nice.
eat bottomless red meat after that. Oh yeah, that'll be fun.
That's awesome. So earlier
Sure.
when we were talking, you talked about how you don't really recommend calories for people. You recommend macros. How do
Yeah.
you decide how much protein and fat to put somebody on the carnivore diet if they're trying to lose fat and build muscle.
Okay, definitely different, per goal, per person. So,
Okay.
may I have, like, a situation, or,
Yeah.
is someone
Let's
kind of
let's use
so
me.
okay, okay, so we're using Serena.
Okay. Yeah. No,
We
we're
can
use
use
Serena.
exact numbers or fake numbers, but,
Yeah,
I
I'll
gotta
do real
keep
numbers
body
because
weight.
I'll do real numbers because I wanna know. So
Alright, let's go,
I
let's go.
I weigh 135, just got back from vacation. I'm retaining a little bit of water weight. I'm 5'3".
Okay,
Currently, I walk and I lift weights about 5 times a week, but it's not, I wouldn't call it serious weightlifting. I'm doing some videos, that my girls and I have found on YouTube. We've been using them for about 9 months, and we've lifted weights about 5 days a week, almost every week, except for, like, if somebody was sick or, like, I hurt my back at one point and I had to be careful for a little while, and if we're on vacation or something like that. But typically, it's been 5 days a week. But again, it's videos, so it's not like serious weightlifting. It's you use
mhm,
whatever weight you feel comfortable with, and you just do the reps for the 45 seconds or however long they're telling you to do it.
perfect.
So I'm just curious for somebody like me because I know there are a lot of other moms. I'm 51. I'm going through menopause. I started hormone replacement therapy about, I want to say 6 months ago. That could be wrong. Some of my viewers might say that that's wrong. I can't remember how long ago it's been, but I've been off and on them for about 2 years because I was scared. So I would start taking it and then I would stop and then I would start taking it and then I would stop. And now I feel pretty committed. And so I'm just curious. So I know a lot of my viewers are about my age, a little bit younger, a little bit older, and we're on the carnivore diet and we're trying to build muscle and we all want to burn off some of that fat, some of that extra weight that we've put on, over, as we get older. For a lot of people, that happens. I hit my goal in November of 2022 and put on a little bit of weight after that. I think just kind of too much dairy, and then I was under eating a lot, which tends to make me gain some weight. And so here I am with 10 pounds left to get back to my goal. What kind of macros do you recommend for somebody like me?
Okay, so we need to lose 10 pounds, and I'm trying to figure out if you're at a spot where you're at a plateau or not, because that determines if we need to do anything creative with your macros or not. Um, I th-
I don't think that I'm at a plateau, because since April, I lost 12 pounds by incorporating a lot of sardine fasting into my diet. And so I'm not stuck or anything. If I went back to sardines today and just ate like 4 cans of sardines, 1,600 calories, that would be about 75-25 for my macros. I would lose a pound overnight without fail and it wouldn't come back. I just kind of overdid the sardines and I'm having a hard time getting them back into my diet. So I don't think that
I feel you.
I don't think that I'm stuck. I don't think I'm at a plateau. I think if I do the right things, I think the weight would come off. I don't think I'm stuck right now.
Okay, okay. You said you were having dairy on your trip, and what were there any carbohydrates and processed foods?
I have to say the first week I was gone almost 2 weeks. And the first week there was a few indiscretions, which I'm not proud of, but some sugar-free
That's okay.
ice cream because everybody else was eating ice cream and I'm on vacation. And so I did do a few things. I had a couple of avocados, which I wouldn't really, you know, think would do anything terrible.
Oh my gosh, hand in your carnivore card. That is a sin.
I know I'm gonna have to give
No,
out my card.
that's all super cool. I'm sure that you're patting yourself on the back
I
because you
I
really
mean, it
should
was
be.
yeah, there were
Um,
definitely some indiscretions, but I came home for a few days, reset myself, and went back and didn't have any kind of indiscretions again. So it's been about a week since any kind of indiscretions at all, but it was a 17-hour drive day before yesterday, so I feel like I'm still retaining some water. My legs are still a little bit swollen from that. So it's really probably more like 8
yeah.
pounds. It's probably more like 8 pounds.
Okay. Okay. So, I would say you would not need to track any macros realistically, probably to get those 10 pounds off. I think that you could do it very, very well intuitively as long as you keep just just the sugar free ice cream, the dairy, that kind of stuff out. And if you just focus on beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, just stick to those foods. That's what I have Davina from Ireland doing right now. She's weighing her foods out just because she kind of needs something to go off of.
Mhm.
So I'll give you some rough macros, but you don't need to treat them like they're gospel. Lions don't need to have calculators and fasting calculators and like all this stuff to right, right, right. But uh after a couple weeks, if if, especially because you're in menopause, if things aren't headed the right direction and you want to start cutting a little bit further, then that would just come down to taking the macros a bit more seriously. So
Well, real quick,
and then just weighing. Go ahead.
I am not good at eating intuitively. Anytime I eat intuitively, I undereat and I either get stuck or I gain weight. It's this weird thing that my body does.
Okay.
I've talked to several doctors about it, and they're in agreement that you can gain weight if your body is in an extreme crisis mode. And so that actually
Yeah.
has happened to me multiple times over the last 15 years, I would say, where I undereat and my body doesn't do well with that. But because of my years of chronic dieting, and I know this resonates with a lot of women, because of my
Mhm.
years of chronic dieting, I have a hard time knowing when I'm full and when I'm hungry. So I kind of have to eat by the clock or I undereat. Like I'll do like, okay, I'm gonna eat 3 meals
To be
today and I'll have
completely honest, I'm kind of the same way. I can
really.
relate to that.
Yeah, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll eat breakfast and then, I'll go ahead and have lunch, but maybe lunch is a little bit late because I was busy, like today, lunch is gonna be a little bit late, and I'll eat lunch, and then dinner time rolls around, and I say, "Well, I'm not really hungry yet, so I'll go ahead and roll this into a fast until morning," and I
Mhm.
do that 6, 7, 8 days in a row, 9 days in a row, 2 weeks go by, and I think I'm doing great, but the scale completely stops moving or starts going up, and when I go back and figure it, I'm eating like 800 calories a day. That's just what I do. If I'm not kind of tracking, and I don't track every day, but I have to be really intentional about eating those 3 meals. I
I'm the
usually
same
can't get
way.
all of my calories in 2 meals. I certainly can't do it in OMAD. And so for me, it's been a serious issue all these years that I can't eat intuitively. And I know there are people who say that's ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. Those are the same people that say all foods are in moderation. There are some people in the carnivore space who say that's ridiculous. You should be able to eat intuitively, but I can't. And it's not that I overeat typically when I try to eat intuitively, it almost always is that I undereat. I mean, sure, there are times that I overeat, don't get
Yeah.
me but typically it's because I'm undereating that I have a problem. So intuitive eating is hard for me. So
Okay.
macros are good.
Great. Okay, great. So we'll definitely get to macros then. One thing that I would like to address just before we head that direction is needing 2 or 3 meals a day. That's awesome, and it's great that you're proactive on that. Just please don't force it because here. Well, okay. I'm not sure how this affects you after menopause, but I just know that most okay, like Sarah, for example. Um, she she does great at fasting like once a month because ladies have a 30-day hormonal cycle, right? So when she gets closer to her time of the month, there's times where her appetite is ravenous and times where she kind of needs to fast. And so uh, that's so I'm saying that that's a great baseline to have 3 meals a day, but there's going to be times where still like your intuition will definitely kick in and you just kind of have to throw that out the window and just kind of listen to your body there. It's easier said than done for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So then if your weight is 135, I have no idea what your body composition is. So I'm just going to throw out a good round number of 25%.
Okay.
And so let's just do some simple math off of that. 0.25 times 135 is 33 pounds of fat minus 135 puts you at an LBM, which is a lean body mass of 101 pounds. So that means that there's really no reason that your protein should ever go below 100 grams per day. All right.
Okay.
So we definitely want you to be higher than that, but that's a good rock bottom baseline for us. I definitely want your fats to be higher, and that is wonderful for 80 or 90% of the people that I've worked with in my experience. Danielle, our WNBF pro, she's an exception to that. She always does better on higher protein than fat because she has a very sensitive digestive system. And so she like too much fat for her, especially on a reef. We're gonna have to go very, very conservative on her fat refeed because it just bowel movements are not pleasant in that case. And your bowel movements will tell you if you're consuming too much fat. So try to push the envelope on fat. That's the biggest mistake that people make when they go to the carnivore diet. You know this, right? They always go
Mhm.
for the leaner meats. We need to be going for the fattier meats. That's what our ancestors would have done. They know that that's where most of the nutrients are at. And that's why it tastes the best, right?
Yeah.
Last night my dinner was my last night my dinner was a skirt steak. Oh my
Mm.
gosh.
Yeah.
Like it's high, yeah, so fatty on the edges, and so I try to put like my entire body weight on it and like jam the fat pieces into the cast iron skillet, put a lot of sea salt on it, and then leave the inside like as raw as possible, right? Because
Mm.
I
Yeah.
know that the less you cook it, meat, the more bioavailable it is, right?
Yep.
Okay. So then your protein, let's set it at your body weight for now, and your appetite is gonna and your recovery is gonna tell us whether that's whether that's too high or too low. So we'll start at 135, and then your fats, I'm just gonna put them at 150. And here again, your body will determine whether that's too much or too
Okay.
little.
Yep.
And it's just gonna be a matter of more ribeye, more mince, whatever your
Hmm.
primary protein source is, and then more, and then or butter. And if you can keep it as simple as few ingredients as possible, it just makes life so much easier. So
Yeah.
if you're one of those people that needs variety in your diet, yeah, I mean like an avocado and stuff here and there, it's not going to kill you. If anything, this time of year, it's probably good for your circadian rhythms because this is the time that I don't know. Is this avocado season? It's fruit
I
season. I
have
know
no
that.
idea.
Okay, yeah, but that's what I would recommend for your macros, and I would just keep it as simple as that. Some people, and here's why I asked about your plateau. If you're at a plateau, I'm doing protein sparing modified fasting right now.
Hmm.
And I have some people that have been carnivore keto for a while, and so
Hmm.
like if you've kind of done everything in the book, you've done cutting fat, your body kind of is adjusted to that. You've done dropping the protein, and so that you're, increasing your metabolic rate by 30%, and so you can get away with having more fat. Like that's another way to cut. Um, a lot of people have kind of tried both of those before. Protein sparing modified fasting is kind of the best of both worlds. So if and when that stops working, that's what I would recommend next,
Okay.
because then your net protein is actually higher throughout
Right.
the week, and you're getting a lot of fats on those days where you're not eating protein. And the high protein days are actually very, very satiating. So if you do it
Okay.
right, that's a good way to get like that last little bit of stubborn belly fat off or whatever's driving you nuts.
Okay. All right. I'm going to work on that. So now tell us what a typical day of eating looks like for you.
So yesterday, what did I eat yesterday? First meal was let's see, trained legs, working backward from that. I didn't have a lot of time to eat. I'm actually not tracking my own macros for the last
Hmm.
couple days.
Okay.
I know, me of all people. I've just
I
been
know.
way too busy to even do it, right? And so especially now that I'm 2.5 weeks out, I just kind of feel like I'm more in tune with my body than I ever have been before. So I'm doing quite well actually just with intuitive eating, and then going back and kind of figuring out what my macros were on the back end. So most of my high fat, I'm doing 5 high fat days a week right now,
Okay.
and 2 high protein days. And so for any of us that are doing protein sparing modified fasting, this is what you do. Basically, the sky is the limit on as much bacon and as much eggs and as much butter as you want to eat on the high fat days,
Right.
depending on the person. But those are all foods that it's like pretty tough to overdo it.
Yeah.
Your satiety signals will let you know, right? But you got to set a limit on your protein. That's the rule.
Mm.
Okay. The high protein days is the opposite. The sky's the limit on shrimp. For me, like I always try to have liver, or I did heart one day. That was a really fun one. Last night I finished some of the liver that was left off and had that skirt steak. So it's probably a little more fat than I should have had, but whatever, it was worth it. So that was yesterday. Knocks me out of ketosis, but that's okay. You just don't plan on doing like your heaviest workouts the day after that.
Yeah.
Not doing any cardio at all, because I would rather just master my diet and kind of go do other stuff in life other than being on the stair mill all day. And so then and so like on a typical, so today's going to be a high fat day. So I'm going to have, let's see, I'm getting home really, really late. Honestly, I'm probably just going to have a pound of mince, just a pound of raw beef out of my fridge where
Mhm.
I know exactly where it's from. I'm not saying to eat raw beef, by the way. I don't want anybody saying, hey, Coach Colt said it's okay to eat raw beef, because that's not what I'm saying. But that being said, here's why I eat raw beef,
Uh-huh.
because it's way more bioavailable. I'll get a much better night's sleep if it's raw than if it's cooked. So, because I want everything going for me 2 weeks out, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have that. And I was having a stick of butter, but I've even been saying heck with that, and I've replaced that with tallow now, because tallow is like, my wife cooks with cooks beef. We're all carnivores in this house.
Yeah.
So tallow is kind of like a byproduct of everything here. We were talking about that on our show last week, right?
Yeah.
You with your tallow, because I was thinking about you when I was putting on my tallow lotion this morning. Actually, I think your package should be here like any day. I can't wait for it. I'm so
Awesome.
excited for it.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for sending that too.
Of course.
So that yeah, and so my macros today are probably gonna. So my macros on high fat days, for me right now, are anywhere from 160 to 190 grams of protein. And then the sky's the limit. Seriously, I'm packing away 300 grams of fat. I kid you not. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. Everybody's like, "What? You're eating butter and you're about to step up?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm eating butter, and I don't care if it's 9 calories per gram. That's bullshit. This affects your body differently in so many ways." So, um, yeah, but here again, going to tallow now. And then macros on a typical protein day are going to be anywhere from 250 to 400 grams. I don't even weigh it out. I just eat as much lean protein as I can and go to bed with a smile on my face. Just make sure I don't touch any fat on that day. And if I
Right.
if I do that, the scale always goes up on the high protein day. That really messes with your head.
Yes.
So you got to get over that. Focus on your non-scale victories that day, right? But yeah, I've never found a easier, just kind of like mindless way to go about dieting. There's a lot less decisions that you have to make, and
Yeah.
kind of makes life easier not having to look at a stupid calorie app the entire day and track every
Yeah.
meal and meal prep. I don't have time for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. That is true. Some of us have to and wish we didn't have to,
Right.
but still it's a great tool to have if you need it. So, okay. So tell everybody what kind of books they should read about all this stuff. Do you have any book recommendations?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I have them right here actually, because I'm working on an ebook right now. I don't know if it's going to be an ebook, or if it's going to be part of my actual book. Yeah, I'm writing a book called "Eat Like a Lion, Live Like a Lion," and
Nice.
probably like, yeah, 6 months, 9 months out before that. So I don't know if this is going to be part of that book, or if it's going to be an ebook. But let me just grab this stack right here. So first one, this is kind of a gem. This is my signed copy of Robert Sykes's
Nice.
ketogenic bodybuilding book. Yeah, it says, "Colt, I have no doubt you'll use and abuse this book. All right, be a hard." Anyway, it's a nice note from Robert. He gave it to me. He gave it to me because when he was here last, because this is my original book, and it
Oh
looks like shit.
goodness.
Like it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that's
is covered in
crazy.
highlighter and markers
Yeah.
and everything. So.
Right.
I would say, if you got money to drop on one book, get Robert's book,
Okay.
his bodybuilding book. This one's a good one, but ignore everything that it says about tracking calories and cardio if you're on the
Okay.
carnivore diet, right? But like as
Okay.
far as posing and like things and like tanning, training, this is actually quite a phenomenal book. This is
Okay.
by Cliff Wilson. It's his bodybuilding, the complete contest preparation handbook. Let's see. Arnold Schwarzenegger's bodybuilding encyclopedia. I'm sorry, it's just a classic. You have to read it if you're a bodybuilder, and if you're one of my clients, it's like mandatory reading. Road to Olympia, Ryan Terry's contest prep book. It's a pretty good one. I would say spend most of your time on those last ones that I just couple mentioned. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is actually a really good book too. The Complete Contest Prep Guide by Lane Norton. I'm dead serious.
Awesome. Okay.
Uh, yeah, yeah, and we all know where we stand about calorie tracking and cardio and everything,
Yeah.
but here again, what he says about posing is actually great. It's inspiring. I kind of cut my teeth on this book and use this for all my first shows, and so a lot of it is still stuff that I teach and still stuff that I do all the time. That's all of them. Yeah, that's kind of what I recommend for contest prep. Any other subjects?
Well, what about a couple of carnivore books?
Couple carnivore books. Oh yeah, okay. Um, like if you're new to the carnivore diet, brand new to the carnivore diet, Sean Baker's book is good. It's really good. Like you can't go wrong with that one. But
Yeah.
I would say get this one
Yeah. That's a good one.
today if somebody asked me. Kiltz's Keto is Carnivore,
Yeah.
Guide for a Fertile Life and Beyond. The only thing that's kind of disappointing is like he doesn't really cite a whole lot of his studies, but
Yeah.
have no fear, because his book, The Fertile Feast, that one, he does a beautiful job of citing everything. And so it just kind of like is what you're after. If you're like, hey,
Yeah.
I don't care, I don't need to be sold, like just show me what to do. bam, this book will do it. Like he has pictures and like he has you eating ice cream once a week. So
Yeah, right.
you got a
Yep.
sweet tooth,
Love it.
like there goes that excuse. Like, yeah, like you can do it.
Love his ice cream recipe. Okay, tell people where they can find you, Colt.
Thanks a lot. Probably the best place right now is either my podcast, it's where I'm most active, the supersetyourlife.com podcast. That's available on all podcast platforms. Carnivore Coaches Corner, that's our deep dive nutrition podcast. That's the one that Richard and I co-host together. And then our YouTube channel is Skullbells TV, SKULLBEBELLZ. And then Instagram, I'm at Colt Milton, COLTMILTON. That's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Colt, for hanging out with me today.
Thanks for hanging out with me today. It's made my day.
Awesome. And thank you guys for watching. Be safe, be well, and we'll see you next time on the Carnivore Revolution.